stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. Brought to you today by, which is one of our big supporters right now. It's they've decided to stop fighting, stop doing crime, and now it's just used to help you, with your Amazon Black Friday or Cyber Monday buys. We have been watching with great regularity the death of right-wing talking points all year long. Every time they come up with one that this is it, this is our winner, this is going to be the one, and we can latch onto this, and we'll use this like a two-before to just beat up the Biden administration, like lumber prices. Anybody remember lumber prices in May?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Remember that? We're out of wood. We were all out of wood, and that would have been rough for Tucker Carlson.
I like wood
because he was building a show, like his little Fox Nation show, right?
Deeper and longer.
And he was his whole set was made of wood, and so it was going to cost him more, even though it was fake. That went away. Then we're talking about like Afghanistan. Trump is literally angry that we're not talking about Afghanistan anymore. That we're not discussing, the exit from Afghanistan. And I have to say, I'm a little annoyed that people are just shrugging off the fact that we're out, like it was a fait accompli, like it was just eventually it's going to happen on its own, like it was just set on a path, and not the fact that Biden did what multiple presidents couldn't or wouldn't do. Even as tough as the decision was, even as many warnings as he got about the reality that there was just no clean way out, that the minute we start leaving, and even Trump said in two recent interviews, they told me, and the generals who are mostly overrated, they all told me that the minute we got out, I knew it was going to collapse as soon as we started to leave. Remember that? Remember that whole thing? He said that a dozen times. Well, then that's the reason you didn't go. Because that's the tough part. Because you knew it was going to affect your numbers. You knew it was going to look bad. It was going to be terrible. There was going to be violence. It was almost impossible to get out of there without, the cost of human life, because of the nature of the conflict and how long we've been in there. And yet, we're out. We are out of Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is now a goal, the stability of Afghanistan and the ability to get humanitarian aid into that country without money going to terrorists is now the struggle of the United States and the UN together with our NATO allies to make that happen. And that's what's going on. That's what people are working on. And the military problem that is and was Afghanistan in terms of the Taliban, in terms of ISIS-K, is now, and ETIM, which is one of the offshoots of ISIS that's related to the Uyghurs in China. These are now the problems of Russia and China. And there is a reason why Russia and China were part of the chorus, internally and externally and through, social manipulation and pressure, to keep us in Afghanistan as long as possible, spending our treasure in throwing good money after bad for years and years and years, because it benefited them in the long term. And it kept the Taliban and the ISIS fighters who have a grudge against Russia about their treatment of the Chechen rebels, and the ISIS-K and ATIM and some Taliban fighters and even some Afghans who do not like how the Chinese are treating the Uyghurs. We, by our presence and our control of the circumstance and the support of the Afghan government, kept those fighters out of China and Russia's hair for a decade.
Yeah.
That's what we were there for in terms of what China and Russia wanted from it. And we are no longer there. And they are having to deal with it. And the idea that we're not talking about it anymore is largely because we are only doing the part we can do anything about, which is monitor any kind of terroristic threats that might grow out of there, that might grow towards us, which it seems to point in all the, all the news that I've seen coming out of the country, that the issues we have about terrorism from that country attacking our country are minuscule in comparison to China and Russia having to deal with the blowback from their policies in Afghanistan and with Muslims in those areas. And on a geopolitical level, that is an enormous story in Europe and in Asia right now. But it's not over here. It's a dead right-wing talking point because we're out. Because we're playing a part in Afghanistan that is equal to or lesser than the part we play in trying to push back against Boko Haram, or the part we're trying to play on a geopolitical level while not getting materially and militarily involved in the Kenyan civil war, which is brutal and grotesque and sorrowful and heartbreaking. And yet, is that news over here?
Not at all.
Is not at all. Is anyone decrying the circumstance or what part we should or shouldn't play necessarily in the in the broader Twitter sphere or social media world about the Kenyan civil war? No. And there's a couple reasons. One, there's nothing for the Republicans to get out of it.
Right.
There is no clear savior in the circumstance because it is complicated and a horribly morally ambiguous argument over who would be better served in a situation where both parties in that particular conflict have a lot of blood on their hands. And there's no, straight ahead resource from there except in the Congo and the related stuff that anybody wants a part in. And we as Americans are trying to disinvest ourselves of all the rare earth minerals and the other stuff that comes from those kind of areas. We've been doing it for 25 years. The rest of the world hasn't. China with the Belt Road Initiative, Russia with their, their resource hunting, they're going in, they're all in those areas. That's why all those guns you see when people are on the backs of trucks are AK-47s. It's not an accident. And yet it doesn't play out in the story over here because the United States is doing what it can and no more in a situation that under George W. Bush, there may have been strafe bombing. And the total ignorance about this issue points to, Americans not having a particular interest in it at all. And that's where we are with Afghanistan. It may be a challenge that we as global citizens should play some part in, making sure that refugees and people have the resources they need and displaced humans that are being driven out by this conflict have some place to go and something to eat and something to wear, which is the part we can play in something like that. But it's no different than where we are with Afghanistan today, which is a world away from where we were in June in Afghanistan or this time last year or the year before that. And so if anybody brings up Biden's exit of Afghanistan, I feel the need to bring up, why do you feel like we needed to stay in forever? If Trump had a magic plan, why didn't he ever use it? And are you advocating that we invade Kenya? Because Boko Haram is a dangerous threat. It genuinely is. They do horrifying atrocities. All the things that the writer's saying that, the left suddenly doesn't care about Afghan women and girls when we're the only ones who cared about them for a very long time. Now all of a sudden they care about that. Yeah? No. We got to take a break. I went way over. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. I'm only on one day a week. I get it. I'm going to have to jump on
garage band and start sawing something together. This is the House Bar Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the House Bar Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Welcome back. This is I think the one thing we get to look forward to, and that Biden gets to look forward to as an automatic jab he can add to any speech going forward, is all the Republicans who didn't vote for the infrastructure bill, who are going to take credit for it. And on top of that, all of the Republicans, period, that when the Build Back Better plan passes in whatever form it finally gets through as the primary budget for the next decade, which is just, how it's going to go through, that they'll also take credit for, look how insulin's cheaper. Look how you can
Right.
Look how you can you don't have to send your kid to daycare. You can now send them to preschool for a year, so they're actually learning something instead of just sitting around eating pudding cups. And there's a standard by which your kid will learn reading a year earlier, which will set them on a path that will pay dividends for the rest of their life.
God, I love pudding.
That's the one thing you take out of it. This reminds me of that time I found you naked with that bowl of Jell-O. This is true.
I was
hot and I was hungry.
And I was hungry.
I was right. By the way, there's so Biden is going to be able to name drop multiple people, the Ron Johnsons of the world, the Marsha Blackburns. All of them are going to be at every ribbon cutting for every fixed bridge, every new power station.
Yeah, they're all going to be like Moana. You're welcome.
They're going to be in a F-150, the electric one. Going, this is America's truck. Yeah, they're all, and probably the worst thing I know. Many people were probably concerned yesterday if Biden was able to remember
person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Now, what most people don't know, and I don't know why he didn't mention this, but that was a huge win for Trump when he was able to remember those words, because it happened during his colonoscopy.
River.
Which and
TV.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't want to know when in Trump's colonoscopy, you don't want to know what
That's
they
better
found.
than a brick because you can't throw a brick; it's too heavy.
So the report has come back from
Poor guy's never been able to lift a brick.
Never. That's so amazing to me. But hey, you have to understand Biden's cognitive ability has been a concern for a lot of people.
Yosemites.
Because when you have a president who speaks as well as
Wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this. You look at what we do with our wildlife.
When you have somebody who speaks that well and who really they don't even lose the plot.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
No, where they use the best words.
Free health care for illegal. Look.
You know what I mean? They're and when they know the world.
To me, Corona means Italy.
Or even.
Can I hear carrot?
Yes. Or they know the people that they work with.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President Mike Pence and his wonderful wife Carrot.
I will never forget the day we were just listening to what was otherwise a normal speech. It was the prayer breakfast. The only thing the Pences cared about, right? That's their day. Trump doesn't pray. He's never read the Bible. He held it upside down. He used it as a prop. It was terrible. You know, it's
Michigan
almost
gave
like
us Motown. Gave us Motown. Gave us the Mustang.
but everybody's concerned about, you know, Biden's mental state, especially after you know, Trump, you know, had such a clear
I had
grasp.
a beat off.
Boy, that was like
Same,
a
Donald.
lightning rod went off.
That he had
A
you know,
lightning
such
rod went off?
yeah. So, you know, and
Winston
history-
Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
Now, granted, I'm just going to say out of total fairness, if you said something like that while getting a colonoscopy without anesthetic, I'd almost believe it. You know, kind of like the waxing scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin. You know what I mean? If
Kelly Clarkson.
they're reaching up
Company
in
that
you
his
and all of a
son
sudden,
worked for. That's Burmese.
Burmisma.
The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese.
Yeah.
They.
Do they?
Is that what they say? You know, they
Yes,
are.
they do. These are the same people who tell you how to pronounce Iowa.
For Iowa values. For Iowa values.
Yeah. So clearly, there, you know, you've got you got a standard set by Donald Trump.
The bar is high.
Yeah, and then it's got to be rough when the report comes out today on Biden's birthday. The president remains a healthy, vigorous 78-year-old male who is fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency, to include those as chief executive, head of state, and commander-in-chief. Kevin O'Connor, the White
He
House.
is the healthiest human ever born. There's never been a healthier person.
Healthier person. He could live on nothing but Twinkies and maple syrup forever, and still have the ability to lift a girder off of a poor old lady trapped in rubble with a simple thrust of his hips. The detailed report said that Biden did have perceptibly stiffer and less fluid motion while walking than a year ago, because he hurt his ankle and his lower back, and suffered increasing frequency and severity of throat clearing and coughing during public speaking engagements. Yeah, because he's giving more speeches than ever. By the way, I've had that in the last couple of weeks. We are in COVID after all, and people have had you know, both cases of it and reactions to stuff. And there are other diseases in the world. Like, the vaccine didn't cure everything else.
Right.
On the raft of tests, Biden came out with high marks, no signs of heart failure, no dental issues, has no suspicions for skin cancer, and his eye health is reassuring. That was interesting. Since I don't think he wears glasses. One reason for that solid report may be the doctor's finding that the president does not use any tobacco products, does not drink alcohol, and he works out at least 5 days a week.
Nice.
Biden, who turns 79 on Saturday, is the oldest president in U.S. history, takes 3 common prescription medications and 2 over-the-counter medicines, as well as he does wear contact lenses. There you go. Yeah. He measures 5 feet, 11 inches tall, 1.82 meters. He weighs 184 pounds and has a body mass index of 25. A smiling Biden returned to the White House from his checkup at Walter Reed Hospital saying, "I feel great," and was, by the way, oddly singing as he came in.
River. You using the whole fist, Doc?
So it was, while the annual visit to Walter Reed Hospital was routine for a president, the requirement for Biden to transfer power while sedated during a colonoscopy made history. For 1 hour and 25 minutes, Kamala Harris
The country
was the
went
first
to
woman
hell in a
hold
handbasket.
Yeah, right. A chick ran the joint, and we all fell apart.
Thanks,
It
broad.
was terrible. Yes, eek the matriarchy. Right. First woman to hold presidential power in the United States. She is already the first female vice president. The White House press office said the official letters to Congress declaring the temporary transfer of power were sent at 10:10 a.m., which probably means something to the QAnons. It's probably, you know, the time of John F. Kennedy Jr.'s JFK Jr.'s last last colonoscopy before the fake plane crash.
Right.
Was also at 10:10 a.m. The president resumed his duties at 11:35 a.m. Today, that was another chapter in the history for many women and young girls across the world. Across the country, but I would argue the world. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, noting Harris's trailblazing role. Harris made an unsuccessful bid for the Democratic Party nomination 2020 before being picked as Biden's running mate, as I said she would be from the very beginning. You're welcome, America. Psaki noted that a similar temporary transfer of power following the process set out in the Constitution had been carried out when George W. Bush underwent the same procedure in 2002 and 2007. 5 years apart, he went and had the details of Biden's health were being closely watched, given speculation on whether he will stand by his stated intention to seek a second term in 2024. He's going to, kids. Get used to the idea. By the way, everybody who thinks he shouldn't also gets their stock advice from people in their 80s. Just saying, who run enormous companies. Just saying. Most of the people who choose to do that. Well, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. I mean, it's kind of almost all happy ending today. But we will have some when we return. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Also, infotainmentwars.com and fwank.com, FWANQ.com. Subscribe at twitch.tv/Hal Sparks. Do it. We're trying to get to 1,000. You can do it. You can do it. Or become a patron or use the Patreon or the Venmo. It's right there. Help the show. Help. I can't give hand signals like Steph does when she's, when she does her she'll lean her finger. She doesn't do the Mark Levin, which is Mr. Producer, like he's poking the guy in the sternum.